Let's talk about TAC arrows today. Let's talk about my TAC setup, but primarily we're focusing on my arrows. I'm having to debate what I want to run because I like to shoot the longer courses. So I want to be able to shoot far. And when I consider that, I have to have an arrow that is going to tune to my bow at my poundage and my draw length. I have to have an arrow that doesn't have too much drag. So I have to consider whether I'm running an offset, just a slight offset, if I'm going to run like a crazy helical. When it comes to the helical and the offset, you have to consider how much drag they're going to put on your arrow. There's a lot of really good videos out there. We'll have a follow-up to this where we're shooting the helical and the offset and the straight to see what my bow prefers. That being said, more than likely I'm running just a slight offset, a little bit better steering than a straight, but then not as much drag long range. As I'm losing energy in the arrow, I don't want to add drag, causing the arrow to just kind of start flopping the front down a little bit more and drop faster. If you've ever seen somebody shoot a flu arrow with big, lots of drag back here, it's great for a certain distance. And then it's just like, boom. So like on my crane hunting arrow, mine goes past maybe 10 to 15 yards, it just falls out of the air because it has so much drag. We have to consider the same thing when we're looking at vanes. This is an Easton Sonic. Last year, and a lot of people that we set up through this shop run an Easton Sonic. Like, it's just a freaking fast arrow. Not my favorite hunting arrow at all. It's just really, really light. But you're looking at 7.8 grains per inch in a 340. Pretty light, just over 8 something in a 300 spine. So that means for every inch, it's this one's 7.8 grains per inch, and the 300 is like 8 point something grains per inch. So if you had a 28-inch arrow, you just multiply that, and that's going to give you your weight. So I'm going to look at that when I build my arrows. This is the Easton Axis long range. This is not a match grade. The match grades are more expensive. I'm going to shoot TAC. I'm going to take some stupid shots. I don't expect to necessarily not lose an arrow. And these are 9.4 grains per inch in a 300. So they're going to be about a grain per inch heavier than the Sonic in the 300 and 2 grains per inch heavier than the Sonic in a 340. And if you don't know about spine, go check our video out about spine. But that is what's going through my head the whole time I'm messing with my bow is I want my sight to be able to go out as far as possible so that if there's a 120-yard shot, I can take it without pin gapping because my goal is to have fun with it, but also be able to be confident in my setup. So we start with arrows on our TAC setup. If you'll go look at my bow setup, this is the arrow I tuned to my bow, and in 2 shots we had it broadhead tuned, which means that this arrow flies very well out of my bow to broadhead tune that quickly. This is an Axis long range, again, non-match grade. I love it. It's got 150 grains, so it's got 50 grain collar, and then it's going to have a 100 grain head on it. My only concern with that is it's going to be slightly heavy to get long distance. If I switch this to a 340 or to the Sonic, and I'm able to get more distance out of it and make up for that slightly weak spine, I'm going to do it. My only goal for Total Archery Challenge is distance combined with accuracy, and oftentimes I can go a slightly weaker spine for long distance shots and see it be more forgiving. Most of the time, we're going to tell you to go slightly stiffer. For TAC, I'd say you can try a spine down. I'm not saying if you're shooting 80 pounds, drop to a 400 spine because then your spine's going to flex so much it's going to blow up in your hand. I'm not saying that. But feel free to mess with your arrows a little bit. Try a different spine. See, okay, hey, I tuned this into a 300. Tuned very, very well. I'm going to build the exact same arrow with a 340 spine, so that's a flex of the arrow. Oh man, dadgum, I'm actually getting better groups at long distance, so obviously I'm going to switch over to that. And then you have to reconsider that again when you come back to broadhead tune. That's where I'm starting for my Total Archery Challenge bow is with these arrows. I'm going to start with this 300. I'm going to get my sight tape on my HHA, see how far I can get these arrows. And then I'm going to build a 340 of this long range and see exactly see if I'm able to get that much more distance out of it. And one thing you can do is go shoot through a chrono and see your speed difference. If you're still able to get it tuned through paper and all that good stuff, and your speed is quite a bit faster, like I'd say 10 feet per second faster, that's going to be quite a bit more range out of your arrow. So Our next step, we'll go test this compared to a 340. So we've got a 340 now in the long range, and we have a 300. So we're just gonna weigh these out. So right now we've got our 300, which has the yellow veins. Give me 1 second. 440.2 grains, so 440.2. But now we're gonna try the 340, and again, we're not looking at hunting, we're looking at total archery challenge, getting speed and distance. So 412, so 412 grains. That's not a huge difference in terms of the weight of the arrow. So 412 to 440 is nothing. What is that, like 28 grains? So what we'll see is we're gonna go shoot it over the chrono, the Garmin, and we're just gonna see if there's actually a big speed difference. And then I'll run it through paper just to see, we know we're tuned to the 300, we'll see what the 340 looks out of it, which I know is a weaker spine. So we know this bow was really dialed into that 300. You can see a lot of really crazy tears up there, but I'm gonna shoot this 340 just to see what we're dealing with. I expect it to act weak. That's not bad. It's not too bad. That's easily adjustable, so I know I can tune that bow. That would be super easy to adjust. So we're back in the range, and again, we don't expect these two arrows to hit the exact same location, but this is gonna be our 340, which is 28 grains lighter, and this is a 29.5-inch bow, and it's peaked right now, it's like 71 point something. Oops, you gotta actually turn on the chronograph before you go. So we'll start now. We'll get the speed on this, and then I'll go grab the 340 and we'll reshoot it. Not everybody's perfect. So again, this is gonna be our 300. This one was 440 grains, and this is a 29.5-inch draw, like at 71.2 pounds. So 292.6 with our 300. And what we're looking at when we shoot our 340 is I'm only looking to see if we're gonna see a big jump in speed. So the 300 and the 340 are right around each other. I'm just aiming for here, so we don't know if that's a big height difference or not, but they're relatively close to each other, so I doubt there's a massive speed difference, but we're gonna go ahead and go back and shoot the 340 over the chrono because we didn't get to do that earlier, so let's go do that. I forgot to turn on the chrono. So the 300 shot 292.6, it's 440 grains. And the 340, which now that the chronograph is ready for it, we're gonna shoot it and see what we hit. So again, it is 28 grains lighter. So 8 feet per second difference. I think it's where we're gonna have to do a follow-up video. So now we know the 340 is 8 feet per second different. It's at that magical number, that 300 actual arrow speed. And what we're gonna have to go do is we're gonna go get sight tapes for them and see which one continues to fly well at long distance. Man, there's so much involved in this, but it's worth it. I hope y'all check out that next video. We'll do that next. Let's go shoot it past 100 if we're not throwing our stuff everywhere.